Welcome to the Ghost Recap. When Samantha and Jay inherit a new mansion, they don't know that it is being haunted. Samantha wants to renovate and make it into a state-of-the-art bed and breakfast, whilst Jay wants to sell and keep their small apartment in New York. Hearing of the hotel idea, the ghosts unite to try and haunt them, so they will move out and not ruin their home. Thor struggles to control electricity and is overlooked. Alberta's hums get overshadowed by music, and Trevor struggles to move a vase, but he finally drops it. As Samantha storms off, unreceptive to selling the mansion, she trips and falls down the staircase. The ambulance are forced to take her. She was in a coma for weeks, and medically dead for 3 minutes, but they return to the mansion. Jay wants to do the bed and breakfast idea. Granted, if they fail, they'll be in debt and struggling to live, so they renovate the place, but Samantha is able to see Trevor and all the other ghosts now. Samantha can still see the ghosts and starts to believe that she is going crazy, but is forced to accept them as they try to annoy them out of the house. The doctor explains that her near-death experience brought her closer to seeing the ghosts in the afterlife. The basement ghosts are able to help them fix the bathroom hot and cold water. Whilst renovations are being done, they find Viking bones that belong to those of Thorfinn, who was killed by getting struck by lightning with a metal helmet, who was abandoned by his crew. So with the communication through Samantha, they bury his bones in a sanctimonious way, lighting the boat with his remains on fire. But before Thor can get sucked off into heaven, they put out the fire because the police told them to. They meet the neighbours, the Farnsbys, Margaret and Henry. They find out about the permits that are needed for renovation as the land is a national treasure, and Henry is the head of the preservation board. They are able to impress them, but by using Pete or Arrowhead's advice about the 80s TV shows and Alberta's knowledge of singers during their time, ultimately, the ghosts hear about the Farnsbys' illegal destruction of their garage for a pickleball court, which they used to secure the permits. It is now Halloween, and they have finished building the gazebo. They are warned of the children that harass them on Halloween night, throwing eggs on their property, but afraid not. They confront the trio, the evil leader Zach, paramour Zoe, and the dumb third wheel Robbie, who still end up egging their house. So Samantha calls their parents, forcing Zach to apologize, but they decide to turn off the gazebo lights, fearing that the kids will try to egg it too. But the light turns into a fire, burning down the entire gazebo, and they blame the kids for the damage, but they admit their faults and are punished 1 week without TV. Pete was an instructor for the Girl Scout. He was faithfully killed by an arrow on that day. On the side of the mansion, Pete's death date is coming up, so Samantha reaches out to his wife Carol and their daughter Laura for them to collect one of Pete's favorite books, and he finds out that his best friend Daryl is now married to her, and also that his Laura has a child named after him, so he is a grandfather. Trevor also realizes that the girl he used to date has a daughter that isn't his. Samantha has a meeting with the Ulster County Review, a serious journalist job besides her freelancing, and when she meets with them, she encounters 2 ghosts. One ghost is Shiki from the Lenape tribe and died in the 1500s. Similar to Sasapis, for the time being, Samantha tries to convince Flower to allow her to use the bank robbery story, the one that hippies including Flower never got caught for. The only reason she doesn't want to publish it is because she stole the money from the group who wanted to donate it. But when she stumbled into the field, a bear killed her. Realizing that Daisy is what Ira called her, he did end up opening the shop, and after writing the story, the statute of limitations passed, so Ira isn't liable, and Lewis loves the story. Samantha discovers the British soldiers. Jay loses his friend group. It is hard for them to maintain D&D games from long distance, so they replace him with Brett, but luckily Pete knows how to play D&D, so Samantha as the translator plays for several hours, but Samantha doesn't like the game, so they stop. But when Isaac admits that he cowardly killed Nigel, they siege the mansion with a push-off, but they settle in a D&D game, where Isaac apologizes and admits that they should invite them over to the house more often. Hetty finds out that Thorne used to sing her to sleep, because babies can sometimes see ghosts. A creepy journalist named Todd comes over to research about Alberta items, and is their first official guest at the B&B. Hetty possesses Jay, and with the wedding planner there, Michael, they have to impress him. Flower runs through him to make Michael high, to buy time. As Hetty tries to make a getaway to Paris, she flies out because of the ghost border. Jay makes it back in time to serve Michael, squab with Cheetah Dust, and it wows him, meaning Kenny and Liz will get married at the Woodstone mansion with all their high-end friends, and it will put the mansion on the map. They go on vacation for a weekend to visit Samantha's mother, Rachel. She finally accepts her daughter and is able to ascend to heaven. As they return, they find that Pete has a new girlfriend, Nancy from downstairs. Jay's sister, Bella, comes over to the house. She recently broke up with her boyfriend and they need to comfort her, but she matched a dating profile with Trevor, one of the ghosts from the mansion. Unbeknownst to them, he was sneakily doing it behind their back. They admit to her that Samantha can see ghosts and prove it to her, and Trevor apologizes. Meanwhile, Pete breaks up with his fake girlfriend from downstairs. On the day of Liz and Kenny's wedding, they discover a vault while Mark was messing around with the lamp. A vault which, when they open, Elias pops out, Hetty's husband that she hated for being a womanizer and misogynist. His power is when he runs through a person, they become extremely horny. While they talk to Kenny, he runs through them. Hearing of this, they cancel the wedding. Elias is trying to run the living out. Nonetheless, they find his pocket watch, enough money to hold their business intact for the next few months. Elias confesses that he will never change. As Hetty smites him to hell, a hole opens up, sucking him down. But Jay now knows that they will be fine for the next few months. They get closer to reopening their business, and Jay leaves it up to Samantha to design their website. With Sasapi's advice of wanting to be a storyteller in his former life, she gets the courage to create the website and finish it. They open the website and allow Sasapi to tell them a story. As the opening nears by, they cook a feast for them to smell their favorite meals, also so that they can break the bad news to them. They are renovating 4 of the rooms for the guests, so they will need to bunk up. Thor's night terror keeps Trevor up. They call a therapist to the house, and Samantha pretends that she is having the same terrors as Thor. He later admits that he killed his best friend Oscar, which was a squirrel. He was freezing and starving. Isaac declines Nigel's offer to stay in the shed with him, also only admitting to Shetty that he has a crush on Nigel. They finally find a jeweler to purchase Elias's pocket watch, but Trevor recognizes him as one of his best friends, Ari, who was there the night he had died. They find out that Trevor is actually a good guy. On the night of the hazing, the rookie had to run naked back to the city, but he gave him his pants, and Trevor took 2 miscellaneous pills at once. He died that day, but they dumped his body in the lake. With all of this, Ari is spooked and agrees to pay them double for the watch. It is 1 week before the second official guest moves in, so they do all their last minute chores like cleaning out the attic, where they meet Stephanie, a girl killed on prom night from a chainsaw murderer. As a teenager, she is annoying and hateful. She weaponizes Samantha's past trauma of being catfished and left alone on prom night, but she shows good heart and throws a prom for Stephanie, the one night that she wakes up all year from her slumber, and Jay takes Samantha to the prom. As the day gets closer, the guests Josh and Leanne are supposed to arrive. However, the Farnsbys, annoyed at their hotel, creates one of their own, selling at a lower price with more luxurious items to spite them, scared of the busy and loud noises of a hotel. But they settle it with a pickleball game, where Henry strikes out due to an injury, and they send their rightful guests over. But when they arrive, the old floor of the mansion breaks. The second official guest gives them a 5-star review. Samantha decides to start a podcast about Alberta's life, but the stipulations are that she will have to have a co-host, which is Todd. They discover that Alberta was a rat. She did it because of the body standards and an unfair situation. Hetty also feels orgasmic sensations for the first time, using a washing machine. They learn about Flower's cult in the past and how she left her brother Robbie to stay with them, but Samantha reaches out to him, and Flower gets a lovely email about how much her brother cared for her. She thanks her by getting Samantha stoned. They meet their neighbors, June and Ali, famous local farmers, and Thor struggles to get Flower to like him enough to get into a relationship with him. They perform a seance and drag Molly down from heaven, the mistress Elias cheated on Hetty with. Samantha locks them in the vault that ghosts can't even walk through, forcing them to talk it out. Molly was forced to bed Elias as his husband had just died and they had a starving child. They resolve their issues and they perform another seance to send her back to heaven. Samantha helps Thor reconnect with Bjorn. He traveled across the old world at seas to find his father, but died at the Farnsby's house. In doing so, she struggles to sleep because their window shouting is in their bedroom and only Samantha can hear them. A TV series called Dumb Deaths comes to reenact Flower's death. When she was high after a festival, they stumbled into a forest and she tried to hug a bear and died. Ira, her boyfriend, ran off. They are finally approved for their alcohol license and serve Alberta's vintage pre-prohibition era alcohol. With the hole, they smashed it in the wall to hopefully get good reviews and more guests. But in the war, they find a note, leading them to suspect that Earl was having an affair with T and they might have poisoned Alberta. Pete also finally gained the courage to kiss Alberta, but he got facepalmed, literally. Bella brings over her friend, Eric, who fawns over her but she doesn't. He ends up trying to let Trevor possess him and almost dies. Meanwhile, Isaac gets over the guilt he felt for his wife, thinking that she hated him because he was gay for the entire marriage, but she came to his bedside in his final moments to dress him up in his army attire just as he passed of dysentery. He admits to Nigel and kisses him on Christmas Day, and with Hetty watching TikToks of strong lumberjacks and Trevor's horniness, they make out on Christmas Day in secret. Thor accepts Pete's parenting advice and gives Bjorn advice on Judy bullying him, the other ghost in the Farnsby's house, but she was doing it because she had a a crush on him. The pair need time to themselves, and with a massive B&B operation, they hire Freddy as the front desk clerk, who has a ghost named Jessica haunting his car. Sass continues to date Jessica, and even getting his first kiss, unaware of the ghosts that haunt the house. Freddy notices the keys on his computer clicking themselves. Freddy just bought a new car, meaning they might lose Jessica, so Sass forces them to buy the old car off Marco, but after a short time, with her stuck in the front lawn and not being able to move, they sell the car, and with it, their relationship is now gone. Freddy also leaves because of the ghost. Jay finds Trevor's skull while fishing, so Trevor's parents Esther and Lenny come by to hold a memorial. Now that they know he's dead, they can finally be at peace, but they ended up splitting after his death because Lenny cheated while the kids were in junior high school, and Nigel moves into the library, away from Jenkins, his ex in the shed. Nigel moves in, but Hetty sees it as a challenge and their rivalry for Isaac begins. Jay and Sam help Thor on his first date with Flower. She was hesitant to go out with him because her first boyfriend promised to marry her, and he died days before they graduated, but now she is ready to be with Thor. They also celebrate Valentine's Day. Samantha runs into her old journalist rival, Isabel, and is able to publish Isaac's memoir, including him inventing the sniper rifle. Hetty and Trevor continue their illustrious affairs in secret, but Nancy and Nigel walk in on them. They are visited by Elias. He gets one day off from hell on good service, and Hetty forgives Elias, but he is sent back to hell. Trevor and Hetty admit to the group that they were having an affair that lasted many moons. Alicia visits B&B, Alberta's relative that they have on the podcast. They realize that when Alberta died, she was dating Earl, but when Alberta passed, their great-grandmother, Teresa, started dating Earl, and now suspected that Teresa and Earl plotted to kill Alberta. Pete's daughter Laura gets married at the Woodstone mansion, and they find a miscellaneous ghost head belonging to Crash, but it goes missing again. Stephanie finds a ghost boyfriend named Ralph, and Jay has a sneaker collection with Mark, their contractor. Missing the city life of the restaurant, Samantha wants Jay to open a restaurant using their barn. The public display of a couple is unappealing to Trevor and downgrading Hetty's status, so they pretend to break up and creep back into the shadows together. Lewis was fired from the Ulster County Review for pornographic reasons. Spencer Cook is cancelling the Alberta murder show by giving them one last episode. Hetty admits that she knows who killed Alberta. During the party, Earl and Thomas were arguing because they were having an affair and Earl broke it off. Thomas stumbled onto the poisoned moonshine from Al Capone after Alberta had rejected him. Teresa took the bottle so he wouldn't poison Alberta, but when Thomas took it, he left it by Alberta's door for her to drink. Alberta can't be friends with Hetty anymore. She was trying to protect her grandson Thomas and never told her about the truth. Samantha gets an advance on Isaac's memoir of $20,000 and she splits it with him. He also makes his next move, and now Isaac and Nigel are engaged. A distant relative named Kelsey Foster confronts them about the house. Her father David Woodstone, the uncle to Samantha, wants their house back, but they go to a strip club where David died, investigating his story, but he was fertile in 93 and Kelsey was born in 97, meaning Kelsey isn't a distant relative, and their lawyer, Dan Hurst, tried to steal their property. They reminisce the past few years with the ghost, just as they notice a ghost being sucked up into heaven. This is where the story ends. For another mysterious tale, watch this.